The phone slips from Renley's hand and hits the floor. He stares at the screen, his breath caught somewhere between his throat and his chest. The message glows back at him, already sent, already seen by the one person in all of New York who should never, ever have received it. Baby, I need you, I'm ovulating. Kairo Vale. Not Meadow, not his friend. Not the nurse who checks on him every other day to make sure he's still breathing, still surviving this pregnancy alone. Kairo Vale. The name alone makes grown men in three-piece suits go quiet. The kind of alpha who doesn't need to raise his voice because his silence does the work for him. The kind of man who runs half the city from an office so high above Manhattan that the clouds probably ask permission before passing his windows. Renley's hands shake as he grabs the phone off the carpet. His apartment is too warm. The radiator hisses like it knows what he just did. Rain hammers against the window so hard it sounds angry. He types fast, fingers stumbling over the letters. Wrong person, please ignore, please. Send. The red receipt updates instantly. Sane. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Renley's stomach twists, not from the baby, though the weight of it presses against his ribs like a reminder of every mistake he's made in the last 8 months. This twist is pure panic, the kind that makes his vision blur at the edges and his pulse hammer so loud he can hear it in his ears. He met Cairo once, just once. At some charity gala Meadow dragged him to back when Renley still thought he could pretend to be normal. Cairo had been standing near the bar, surrounded by men in expensive suits who looked at him like he was a bomb they didn't want to set off. His eyes were cold, not cruel, just absent of anything soft. He'd glanced at Renley for maybe 3 seconds, and in those 3 seconds, Renley felt like every lie he'd ever told himself got pulled apart and examined. Meadow had whispered later, if you're ever in real trouble with Dax, Kairo Vale is the only man he's afraid of. Renley saved the number after that, not because he thought he'd ever use it, but because fear makes you do stupid things, and hope makes you do even stupider ones. His phone buzzes. He jumps so hard his elbow hits the nightstand. The lamp wobbles but doesn't fall. He grabs the phone with both hands, his heart beats so loud now it drowns out the rain. The message isn't from Cairo. It's from Dax. You think you can hide from me? Renley's blood goes cold. Another message. I know where you are, Rens. Another. And I'm coming to take what's mine. The pounding starts before Renley can even process the words. Not on the door downstairs, on his door, right outside his apartment. Heavy fists, alpha fists, the kind that don't ask, they demand. Renley stumbles backward, his hand instinctively covering his belly. The baby shifts inside him, a tiny kick against his palm that would be sweet if he wasn't so terrified he might throw up. Renley, Dax's voice slithers through the door like smoke under crack. Smooth, warm, poisonous. Open up, baby, we need to talk. Renley's legs won't move. His body knows what his brain is still trying to deny. Dax didn't come here to talk. Dax never just talks. He corners, he controls, he takes. I know you're scared, Dax continues, his tone dripping with false sweetness. But you don't have to be. I'm not mad. I just want to see you, want to see my pup. Renley's jaw clenches. His pup, like the baby growing inside him, is some kind of property. Like Renley's body is just a container Dax gets to claim whenever he wants. The doorknob rattles. Renley's heart stops. Come on, Ren, Dax says, and now there's an edge to his voice. Sharp, impatient. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Another voice joins in, deeper, unfamiliar. You want us to break it down. Renley's stomach drops. Us? Dax didn't come alone. What do you think Renley should do, run or fight back? Drop your answer below. The door shudders under the weight of a shoulder, slamming into it. Renley's back hits the wall. His phone is still clutched in his hand, but his fingers are numb. He can't think, can't breathe. The room is too small, the walls are too close. The sound of Dax's voice is everywhere. You really thought you could just disappear? Dax's laugh is soft, almost affectionate. It makes Renley's skin crawl. You really thought I wouldn't find you? The door cracks, not open, just enough to show it won't hold much longer. Renley's body reacts before his mind does. He stumbles toward the window, but it's painted shut. Has been since he moved in. The fire escape is on the other side of the building. There's no way out. I can smell you, Ren. Dax's voice drops lower now, intimate in a way that makes Renley want to claw his own ears off. God, you smell desperate, sweet, like you're just begging for someone to take care of you. Renley's hand tightens over his belly. The baby kicks again, harder this time, like it can feel the fear radiating through him. He hears the scrape of metal, a key, or maybe a credit card slipping into the lock. Dax used to do that all the time when they were together. Pick locks, break into places he wasn't supposed to be. He called it resourceful. Renley calls it what it is now, control. You know what's funny, Dax says, and Renley hears the click of the lock giving way. I've been tracking you this whole time. Your prenatal clinic. Yeah, they've been very cooperative. Renley's chest tightens. The clinic, the one place he thought was safe, the one place he thought Dax couldn't touch. The door swings open. Dax stands in the doorway, flanked by two other alphas, both bigger than him, both staring at Renley like he's something they're being paid to retrieve. Dax looks the same as he always does, sharp jawline, designer jacket, hair styled just enough to look effortless. He smiles, and it's the kind of smile that used to make Renley feel special. Now it just makes him feel trapped. There you are, Dax says, stepping inside like he owns the place, like he owns Renley. Miss me. Renley presses himself harder against the wall. His voice comes out broken, barely a whisper. Get out. Dax tilts his head, still smiling. That's not very nice, Ren. After everything I've done for you, after I gave you this. He gestures at Renley's belly, his eyes gleaming. You should be thanking me. One of the other alphas shifts, arms crossed. He's watching Renley like a predator watches wounded prey, waiting for permission to move. Dax takes another step closer. You've been having a hard time, haven't you? All those symptoms, the heat, the ovulation. His smile widens. You know why that's happening, don't you? Renley's throat closes. Dax reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small orange pill bottle. Renley recognizes it instantly. His suppressants, the ones that went missing 3 days ago, the ones he tore his apartment apart looking for. I've been holding on to these, Dax says, shaking the bottle like it's a toy. Thought you might need a little reminder of who takes care of you. Renley's legs nearly give out. He stole them. He stole the medication keeping Renley's body stable, keeping him safe, and he did it on purpose. You, Renley's voice cracks, you've been making me sick. Dax shrugs, unbothered. I've been making you need me, there's a difference. The second alpha steps forward. Boss, we should move, Vale's men. Dax's head snaps toward him, and the alpha goes silent immediately. Dax's expression doesn't change, but something in his eyes does. Something cold, something that says don't interrupt me again. He turns back to Renley, his smile returning. Don't worry about Vale, he's not coming for you. Why would he? You're nobody to him. Renley's phone buzzes in his hand. He glances down without thinking. A new message. From Cairo. Stay where you are, I'm already on my way. Renley's breath catches. He looks back up at Dax, whose eyes have narrowed. He saw the message, or at least he saw Renley's reaction to it. Who's texting you? Dax's voice is sharp now, dangerous. Renley doesn't answer. Dax crosses the space between them in 2 strides and rips the phone out of Renley's hand. He reads the screen, and for the first time tonight his expression falters. Just for a second, then it hardens into something worse than anger. Vale, Dax's voice is quiet, too quiet. You texted Kairo Vale. Renley doesn't respond, can't respond. His heart is pounding so hard he thinks it might break through his ribs. Dax's jaw tightens. He drops the phone on the floor and steps on it. The screen cracks under his heel. You stupid, Dax's hand shoots out, grabbing Renley by the wrist. His grip is tight, too tight. Do you have any idea what you just did? Renley tries to pull away, but Dax's fingers dig in harder. Let go. You belong to me, Dax hisses. His face inches from Renley's now. Not him, not anyone else, me. The hallway outside the apartment goes silent. Not the kind of silence that comes from people leaving. The kind that comes from people holding their breaths. Dax notices it too. His grip loosens just slightly, and he glances toward the door. A new scent fills the room. Dominant, controlled, absolute. Dax's entire body goes rigid. And then a voice, calm and cold as winter, speaks from the hallway. Step away from him. Do you think Cairo arrived just in time, or is it already too late? Comment below. Dax's hand is still wrapped around Renley's wrist when the scent hits. It's not aggressive, it doesn't crash into the room like a wave. It just exists, heavy, undeniable, the kind of presence that makes every alpha in the vicinity remember exactly where they stand in the hierarchy. And where they stand is beneath it. Dax's fingers loosen, not because he wants to, because his body makes the decision for him. Renley stumbles back, cradling his wrist against his chest. His pulse is still racing, but now there's something else mixed in with the fear, something he doesn't have a name for yet. Hope, maybe. Or maybe just disbelief that anyone actually came. The two alphas flanking Dax exchange a glance. One of them takes a step toward the door, but the other grabs his arm and shakes his head. Smart. Whatever's standing in that hallway, they don't want to meet it head-on. Dax clears his throat. His voice comes out steady, but Renley knows him well enough to hear the crack underneath. This is a private matter. You should leave. Silence. Then footsteps, slow, deliberate, the kind that don't rush because they don't need to. Kairo Vale steps into the doorway, and the room shrinks around him. He's not tall in an exaggerated way, not built like the men Dax brought with him, but he doesn't need to be. Everything about him is control. His suit is dark, tailored perfectly, unbuttoned at the collar just enough to show the edge of a tattoo curling up his neck. His eyes are sharp, cold, and when they land on Renley, they don't soften, but they don't dismiss him either. They assess. They calculate. And then they move to Dax. I said, Cairo repeats, his voice quieter now but somehow heavier, step away from him. Dax tries to smile, it doesn't reach his eyes. Vale, I didn't realize you were involved. I'm involved now. Cairo's gaze shifts to Renley again just for a second, and this time there's something in it that makes Renley's chest tighten. Not pity, not sympathy, just recognition, like Cairo sees him, actually sees him. Are you hurt? Cairo asks. Renley opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. His throat is too tight. His wrist throbs where Dax grabbed him, and his body is still buzzing with the ovulation hormones that have been tearing through him for days. He shakes his head, but he's not sure if it's convincing. Cairo's jaw tightens, he looks back at Dax. You took his suppressants. It's not a question. Dax's smile falters, I don't know what you're. Don't, Cairo's voice cuts through the lie like a blade. I've been tracking you for 3 months. I know what you've been doing. I know how many omegas you've hurt. And I know you stole his medication to destabilize him. Renley's stomach drops. 3 months. Cairo's been watching Dax for 3 months. Which means Cairo knew. Before Renley even sent that message. Before tonight. Cairo knew, and he was already building a case. Dax's face hardens. The charm is gone now. What's left is colder. Sharper. You think you can just walk in here and take what's mine. He's not yours. Cairo says it so simply, like it's fact, like there's no room for debate. Dax takes a step forward, and immediately 3 men in black suits materialize in the hallway behind Cairo. They don't draw weapons, they don't need to, their presence is enough. Dax stops. Cairo doesn't even glance back at them, he just keeps his eyes on Dax, steady and unblinking. You have 2 choices. You leave now quietly and I let the courts handle this, or you make this difficult and I handle it myself. You don't scare me, Dax says, but his voice betrays him. There's a tremor in it now, small but there. Cairo takes 1 step forward, just one. Dax flinches. I don't need to scare you, Cairo says, I just need you gone. For a long moment, no one moves, the room holds its breath. Then Dax exhales through his nose, sharp and frustrated. He glances at Renley one last time, and there's something ugly in his expression, something that says this isn't over. You'll regret this, Dax mutters, shoving past Cairo's men toward the hallway. The 2 alphas follow him quickly, heads down, not making eye contact with anyone. Cairo watches them go. He doesn't move until the sound of their footsteps fades down the stairwell, then he turns back to Renley. Renley is still pressed against the wall, his hand over his belly, his breath coming too fast. Cairo steps inside the apartment slowly, like he's approaching something fragile. You need a hospital. Renley shakes his head, I'm fine. You're not. Cairo's eyes drop to Renley's wrist, where bruises are already starting to form. Then they move to his face, his neck, his belly. He's reading Renley's body like a map, looking for damage. I didn't mean to text you, Renley says suddenly, his voice cracking. I swear I didn't. I know. I was trying to text my friend, and I know, Cairo repeats, gentler this time, and it doesn't matter. Renly's chest shakes, his eyes burn. He doesn't cry, he won't let himself, but it's close. "Why did you come?" Renly whispers. Cairo is quiet for a moment. Then he says, "Because you asked for help, and because you shouldn't have had to." Renly's knees buckle. Cairo catches him before he hits the floor. His hands are steady, careful, supporting Renly's weight without gripping too hard. He smells like rain and something darker, leather maybe, or smoke. It's grounding, solid. "I've got you," Cairo says quietly. "You're safe now." And for the first time in 8 months, Renly almost believes it. Cairo's phone buzzes. He pulls it out with one hand, still holding Renly steady with the other. His expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his eyes. "What?" Renly asks, his voice hoarse. Cairo looks at him, and for just a second, something like anger flashes across his face. Not at Renly, at something else, someone else. "Your suppressants," Cairo says slowly. "They weren't just stolen, they were replaced." Renly's blood goes cold. Replaced with what? Cairo's jaw tightens. Hormones, the kind that would trigger ovulation, even during pregnancy. Renly's breath stops. Someone didn't just take his medication. Someone tried to break him. Who do you think helped Dax get access to Renly's medication? Drop your theory below. Renly's legs give out completely this time. Cairo lowers him carefully onto the edge of the bed, his hands still supporting Renly's back. Renly can't feel his fingers, can't feel his face. His entire body has gone numb except for the sick, twisting weight in his stomach that has nothing to do with the baby. Replaced. Not stolen, replaced. Which means someone knew exactly what they were doing. Someone knew how to destabilize him, how to make his body turn against him, how to leave him vulnerable enough that Dax could walk back into his life like he owned it. "I don't understand," Renly whispers, his voice barely audible. "Why would, who would?" "Someone inside the clinic," Cairo says. His tone is calm, but there's steel underneath it. "Someone with access to your medical records, your prescriptions." Renly's chest tightens. He thinks about the clinic, the small, overcrowded office on the edge of Queens where he gets his prenatal checkups, the nurses who barely look at him, the receptionist who always seems annoyed when he shows up, the doctor who talks to him like he's a checklist item instead of a person. He trusted them. He had to trust them. Why? Renly's voice breaks. Why would anyone? Money, Cairo says simply, or fear. Dax has both. Renly closes his eyes. His hand moves to his belly again, instinctive, protective. The baby shifts under his palm, a small flutter that feels impossibly fragile right now. Cairo's phone buzzes again. He glances at it, types something quickly, then pockets it. When he looks back at Renly, his expression is unreadable. "I'm taking you to a hospital," Cairo says. "Not the clinic, somewhere clean, somewhere Dax doesn't have reach." Renly shakes his head. "I can't afford." "I'm not asking you to." Renly looks up at him, stunned. "Why are you doing this?" Cairo is quiet for a moment. His eyes stay on Renly, sharp and assessing, but not cold. Not anymore. "Because you're not the first Omega Dax has done this to," Cairo says finally. "And if I don't stop him now, you won't be the last." The words hit Renly like a punch to the chest. Not the first. He's not the first. "How many?" Renly asks, his voice barely a whisper. Cairo's jaw tightens. "Enough." Renly's stomach twists again, but this time it's not fear. It's rage, cold, sharp. It cuts through the numbness like a blade. "Where is he now?" Renly asks. "Gone for now." Cairo's tone is measured, but there's something in it that says not for long. But he'll come back. Men like him always do. Renly swallows hard. His hands are shaking again, but this time it's not from fear. It's from exhaustion, from hormones, from 8 months of running and hiding and pretending he could survive this alone. "I didn't know who else to call," Renly says quietly. "I didn't think anyone would come." Cairo crouches in front of him, bringing himself down to Renly's eye level. It's such a small gesture, but it makes Renly's throat tighten. "I came," Cairo says, "and I'm not leaving until you're safe." Renly wants to believe him. God, he wants to believe him so badly it hurts. But belief is dangerous. Belief is how he ended up with Dax in the first place. Cairo seems to read the hesitation in his face. He doesn't push. He just stands, pulling out his phone again. "I'm calling my medic. She'll check you over here before we move you. Make sure the baby's okay." Renly nods. He doesn't trust his voice right now. Cairo steps into the hallway to make the call, and for the first time in what feels like hours, Renley is alone. The apartment is trashed, the door is still hanging half open, his phone is shattered on the floor, the rain outside has slowed to a drizzle, but the sound of it against the window is still too loud. Renley's hand moves to his belly again, the baby is still now, quiet. "It's okay," Renley whispers, his voice cracking. "We're okay." He doesn't know if he believes it. A woman appears in the doorway a few minutes later, mid-30s, dark skin, sharp eyes, carrying a medical bag that looks more expensive than Renley's entire apartment. She doesn't introduce herself, just walks in, sets the bag down on the bed, and starts pulling out equipment. "Renley Marrow?" she asks, her tone brisk but not unkind. Renley nods. "I'm Dr. Ashton, Cairo called me." She pulls out a stethoscope, a blood pressure cuff, and a small handheld monitor. "I'm going to check you and the baby. Is that okay?" Renley nods again. She works quickly, efficiently, her hands steady as she presses the monitor against his belly. The sound of the baby's heartbeat fills the room, fast, strong, steady. Renley exhales for the first time in what feels like hours. "Baby's fine," Dr. Ashton says, her tone softening just slightly. "Heart rate's good, no signs of distress." She pauses, glancing at Renley. "But your blood pressure is through the roof, and your hormone levels are all over the place." "I know," Renley says quietly. "Do you know why?" Renley hesitates, then nods. "My suppressants, someone tampered with them." Dr. Ashton's expression doesn't change, but something in her eyes hardens. She sets the monitor down and pulls out a small vial and syringe. "I'm going to give you something to stabilize your hormones. It won't fix everything, but it'll help." Renley watches as she fills the syringe, his chest tight. "Will it hurt the baby?" "No," Dr. Ashton's tone is firm. "I wouldn't give it to you if it would." Renley nods and rolls up his sleeve. The needle pinches, but it's nothing compared to the pain he's been living with for days. Dr. Ashton packs up her equipment, then looks at Cairo, who's standing in the doorway now. He needs rest, real rest, and he needs to be somewhere Dax Calder can't reach him. Cairo nods, already handled. Dr. Ashton glances back at Renley, her expression softening just slightly. "You're going to be okay, but you need to let people help you." Renley doesn't respond, he's not sure how. Dr. Ashton leaves and Cairo steps back into the room. He's holding a coat, Renley's coat, from the hook by the door. "Can you walk?" Cairo asks. Renley nods, though he's not entirely sure it's true. Cairo helps him to his feet, steadying him when he sways. The world tilts for a second, but Cairo's hand on his arm keeps him grounded. "Where are we going?" Renley asks. "Somewhere safe." Renley wants to ask more, but he's too tired, too worn down. He lets Cairo guide him out of the apartment, down the stairs, and into the rain-slicked street where a black car is waiting. As they pull away from the curb, Renley glances back at the building. His apartment, his life, or what's left of it. His phone buzzes in his pocket, the burner phone Meadow gave him weeks ago, the one he forgot he even had. He pulls it out, one new message, from an unknown number. "You think Vale can protect you, he's already too late." Renley's blood runs cold. He looks at Cairo, who's watching him carefully. "What is it?" Cairo asks. Renley hands him the phone. Cairo reads the message, and his expression goes dark. "When did you get this?" "Just now." Cairo's jaw tightens. He pulls out his own phone and makes a call. His voice is low, controlled, but there's an edge to it that makes Renley's chest tighten. "We have a problem," Cairo says into the phone. "Dax is still tracking him." A pause. "No, not the phone, something else." Cairo's eyes meet Renley's. "We need to find it, now." "What do you think Dax planted on Renley to track him? Drop your guess below." The car moves through the city like a shadow, silent and fast. Renley sits in the back seat, his hands pressed flat against his thighs to stop them from shaking. Cairo is beside him, his phone pressed to his ear, his voice low and clipped as he speaks to whoever's on the other end. Renley doesn't catch all of it, words like sweep, location, embedded, but he catches enough to know it's bad. "Dax isn't done." "Dax is never done." Cairo ends the call and looks at Renley. His expression is unreadable, but there's something in his eyes that makes Renley's stomach tighten. "We're going to a secure location," Cairo says. "Once we're there, my team is going to scan you." Renley blinks. Scan me. For tracking devices. The words hit Renley like ice water. He stares at Cairo, his mouth dry. You think he put something on me? I think it's the only way he could have found you this fast. Cairo's tone is calm, but there's steel underneath it. You moved 3 times in 2 months, changed your number, stayed off social media, and he still found you within hours. Renley's chest tightens. He thinks back to the last few weeks, grocery shopping, prenatal appointments, the pharmacy. He thinks about every time Dax showed up unannounced when they were together. Every time Dax, coincidentally, knew where he was. How long, Renley's voice cracks, how long has he been tracking me? Cairo's jaw tightens. I don't know, but we're going to find out. The car pulls into an underground garage, concrete walls, dim lighting, no windows. Renley's pulse spikes as they come to a stop. He's never been here before, doesn't know where here even is. Cairo gets out first, then holds the door open for Renley. His hand is steady, offered but not demanding. Renley takes it, his legs unsteady as he steps out onto the cold concrete. The air smells like oil and rain. A woman is waiting near an elevator, short, sharp-eyed, dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. She's holding a tablet and a small black case. She doesn't smile when she sees Renley, just nods at Cairo. This him? She asks. Yeah, Cairo's hand is still on Renley's arm, steadying him. Run the full sweep. The woman, Renley doesn't catch her name, gestures toward the elevator. Upstairs, I need him in a clean room. Renley follows, his heart pounding. The elevator ride is silent except for the hum of machinery. When the doors open, they step into a space that looks more like a medical suite than anything else. White walls, sterile lighting, exam tables, monitors. It's too clean, too quiet. Renley's instincts scream at him to run, but his body is too tired, too worn down. Sit, the woman says, pointing to one of the tables. Renley sits, his hands are shaking again. The woman opens the black case and pulls out a device that looks like a handheld scanner, sleek, metallic, with a small screen on one side. She powers it on, and the screen glows blue. This is going to scan for any electronic signals on or inside your body, she explains, her tone brisk. RF tags, GPS chips, NFC implants. If it's transmitting, we'll find it. Renley's stomach churns, inside his body. I'm going to start with your clothes, she says. Then your skin. If we find something, we'll extract it here. Renley nods, but he can't speak. His throat is too tight. She starts with his jacket, running the scanner over every seam, every pocket. Nothing. Then his shirt, his jeans, his shoes. Still nothing. Arms, she says. Renley holds out his arms, palms up. The scanner moves over his skin, slow and methodical. His wrists, his elbows, his shoulders. The scanner beeps. Renley's heart stops. The woman frowns, moving the scanner back over the same spot. The beep comes again, louder this time. There, she says, pointing to a spot just below Renley's collarbone, near his shoulder. You have a subdermal tag. Renley's vision blurs. A what? A tracking chip, Cairo says from behind him. His voice is low, controlled, but there's an edge to it now, implanted under the skin. Renley's hand flies to his shoulder, pressing against the spot. He can't feel anything. No bump, no scar, nothing. When? Renley's voice is shaking. When did he? The woman pulls up an image on the tablet. It shows a tiny, grain-sized device, barely visible on the scan. These are usually implanted during minor procedures, or while the person is unconscious. Renley's blood runs cold. He thinks back 2 months ago. He'd gone to the clinic for an emergency appointment. Cramping, bleeding. They'd sedated him, said it was precautionary. He'd woken up hours later, groggy and confused, and they told him everything was fine. The baby was fine. He was fine. But Dax had been there, waiting in the lobby, smiling. Oh God, Renley whispers. Cairo steps closer, his hand on Renley's shoulder, careful, not gripping. We're going to remove it, right now. Renley nods, but he can't breathe, can't think. The woman preps a tray, local anesthetic, scalpel, tweezers. She moves fast, efficient. This'll sting for a second, then you won't feel anything. Renley closes his eyes as the needle goes in. The sting is sharp but brief, then numbness spreads across his shoulder. He doesn't watch, can't watch. He hears the sound of the scalpel, soft, precise, then the woman's voice. Got it. Renley opens his eyes. She's holding a pair of tweezers, and pinched between them is a tiny silver chip, no bigger than a grain of rice. Cairo takes it from her carefully, holding it up to the light. His expression is dark. "This is military grade," he says quietly. "Expensive, not something you just buy online." The woman nods. Whoever implanted this knew what they were doing. Cairo's jaw tightens. He looks at Renley, and there's something in his eyes now, something cold and dangerous. "Dax didn't do this alone," Cairo says. "He had help, professional help." Renley's chest shakes. He wants to scream, wants to cry, wants to burn the entire world down. But all he can do is sit there, staring at the tiny chip in Cairo's hand, and realize just how long Dax has been controlling him. Cairo crushes the chip between his fingers. The sound is small but final. "He won't find you again," Cairo says. His voice is steady, certain. "I promise." Renley wants to believe him, but belief is a dangerous thing. The woman bandages Renley's shoulder, then packs up her equipment. She glances at Cairo. He needs rest and food. His vitals are barely stable. Cairo nods. "I'll handle it." She leaves, and Renley is alone with Cairo again. Renley's voice comes out small, broken. "Why didn't I know?" Cairo sits down beside him, careful not to crowd him, because he didn't want you to. Renley's hands curl into fists against his thighs. "I should have known, I should have." "No," Cairo's voice is firm but not harsh. "This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault." Renley's eyes burn. He won't cry. He won't. But his chest shakes anyway. Cairo's phone buzzes again. He glances at it, and his expression goes dark. "What?" Renley asks. Cairo looks at him, and for the first time, Renley sees something like hesitation in his eyes. "There's something else," Cairo says quietly. "Something you need to know." Renley's stomach drops. "What?" Cairo hesitates, then turns the phone toward him. On the screen is a photo, security footage from the clinic. Grainy, but clear enough. It shows Dax, and standing beside him, smiling, is someone Renley recognizes immediately. Meadow. His best friend. The one person he thought he could trust. Do you think Meadow betrayed Renley, or is there more to the story? Let us know below. Renley's world stops. The phone screen shows Meadow, his Meadow, standing beside Dax outside the clinic. She's not being dragged, not being forced. She's smiling, talking. Her hand is on Dax's arm like they're old friends. Like they planned this. Renley's voice comes out strangled. "No." Cairo doesn't say anything, just lets him process. That's not." Renley can't finish the sentence. His brain won't let him, because if he finishes it, if he says it out loud, then it becomes real. And it can't be real. Meadow was the one who told him to leave Dax. Meadow was the one who found him this apartment. Meadow was the one who checked on him every other day, who brought him groceries when he couldn't afford them, who held his hand through every ultrasound. Meadow was the only person who knew where he was. Renley's stomach lurches. He doubles over, his hand flying to his mouth. Cairo is beside him instantly, steadying him. "Breathe." Renley can't. His chest is too tight. His vision is blurring at the edges. "She helped him," Renley gasps. "She helped him find me." Cairo's hand is firm on his back, grounding. "We don't know that yet." "Then what else is she doing with him?" Renley's voice cracks, rising. "Why is she smiling?" Cairo is silent for a moment. Then he says quietly, "Because she's either working with him or she's scared of him." Renley looks up, his eyes burning. "Which one?" "I don't know yet," Cairo admits, "but I'm going to find out." Renley's hands shake as he wipes his face. His mind is racing, pulling apart every conversation he's had with Meadow in the last 2 months, every text, every phone call, every time she asked where he was, what he was doing, if he was okay. Every time she knew exactly where to find him. "The vitamins," Renley whispers. Cairo's eyes narrow. "What?" "She gave me prenatal vitamins, said the clinic was giving them out for free." Renley's voice is shaking now. "That's where the tracker was, inside the bottle." Cairo's jaw tightens. He pulls out his phone and types something fast, then he looks back at Renley. "Where's the bottle now?" "My apartment, on the counter." Cairo makes another call. His voice is low, controlled. "I need a team at Renley's apartment. There's evidence there. Bag everything." He hangs up and looks at Renley. We'll know for sure soon. Renley's chest shakes. He wants to scream, wants to throw something, wants to run until his legs give out. But all he can do is sit there, staring at the photo of Meadow, and feel the last piece of trust he had left crumble into dust. She was my friend, Renley says quietly, my only friend. Cairo doesn't respond right away. When he does, his voice is softer than Renley's ever heard it. I know. Renley closes his eyes. The baby shifts inside him, a small flutter against his ribs. He presses his hand to his belly, protective, desperate. I can't do this, Renley whispers. I can't. Yes, you can. Cairo's voice is firm now. You've been doing it. You're still here. You're still fighting. Renley shakes his head. I'm not fighting, I'm just surviving. That's the same thing. Renley looks at him, and for the first time he sees something in Cairo's eyes that isn't cold, isn't detached, it's almost gentle. You came, Renley says, his voice breaking. When I texted you, you came. Cairo nods. I did. Why? Cairo is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, because I've seen what men like Dax do to people, and I've seen what happens when nobody stops them. Renley's throat tightens. You said I'm not the first. You're not. It's how many? Cairo's expression darkens. 5 that I know of, maybe more. Renley's breath catches. 5 other Omegas, 5 other people who trusted Dax, who believed him, who thought they were loved. What happened to them? Renley asks. Cairo's jaw tightens. 2 are in recovery programs. 1 moved out of state. 1, he pauses, 1 didn't make it. Renley's chest goes cold. Didn't make it. Cairo meets his eyes, and there's something raw in his gaze now, something that looks like guilt. She took her own life 3 years ago. Renley's hand flies to his mouth. He feels like he's going to be sick. I was too late then, Cairo says quietly. I won't be too late now. Renley stares at him, his vision blurred with tears he won't let fall. Cairo's not just helping him out of pity, or obligation, or because he happened to get a text. He's helping him because he couldn't help someone else. And he's been carrying that weight ever since. Cairo's phone buzzes again. He glances at it, and his expression shifts, something sharp and dangerous flashing across his face. What? Renley asks. Cairo looks at him. My team just searched your apartment. They found the vitamin bottle. Renley's heart pounds, and the tracker wasn't the only thing inside it. Cairo's voice is low, controlled. There were hormone pills, estrogen boosters, mixed in with the vitamins. Renley's stomach drops. She was drugging me. Cairo nods. For weeks, maybe longer. Renley's hands curl into fists. His chest shakes with rage now, not fear. Where is she? We're looking. Find her. Renley's voice is sharp now, harder than he's ever heard it. I want to see her. I want to hear her say it. Cairo studies him for a moment, then nods. You will. A knock at the door makes them both turn. One of Cairo's men steps inside, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing all black. He glances at Renley, then at Cairo. Boss, he says quietly, we've got her. Was Meadow forced to betray Renley, or did she do it willingly? Drop your thoughts below. They bring Meadow into a room that looks more like an interrogation space than anything else. Concrete walls, metal table, 2 chairs. She's not handcuffed, not restrained, but she looks small sitting there, her hands folded on the table, her eyes red like she's been crying. Renley stands behind the one-way glass, watching her. His chest is tight, his hands are shaking. He doesn't know if he wants to scream at her or collapse. Cairo stands beside him, silent. I want to go in, Renley says. Cairo glances at him. Are you sure? Renley nods. He's not sure of anything right now, but he needs to hear it from her. Needs to know why. Cairo opens the door. Meadow's head snaps up when she sees Renley. Her face crumples immediately, and she stands, reaching for him. Ren. Don't. Renley's voice is sharp, cutting. He stays near the door, his arms wrapped protectively around his belly. Meadow freezes, tears spill down her cheeks. Ren, please, I can explain. Then explain. Renley's voice shakes, but it doesn't break. Explain why you were with Dax. Explain why you gave me vitamins with a tracker inside. Explain why you've been drugging me for weeks. Meadow's face goes pale. I didn't know about the tracker, I swear. But you knew about the drugs. Meadow's silence is answer enough. Renly's chest shakes. He steps closer, his voice dropping to something colder. Why? Meadow's hands tremble. She wipes her face, her voice breaking. Because he said he'd hurt my daughter. Renly stops. Meadow sinks back into the chair, sobbing now. He found out about her, about where she lives, about her school. He said if I didn't help him, her voice cracks. He'd take her, he'd do to her what he did to you. Renly's stomach twists. Meadow has a daughter, a little girl, 8 years old. Renly's met her once, bright smile, gap-toothed, obsessed with butterflies. He showed me pictures, Meadow continues, her voice barely audible, of her walking home from school, playing in the park. He knew her routine, he knew everything. Renly's hands curl into fists. He wants to hate her, wants to scream at her, but all he feels is exhaustion. You should have told me, Renly says quietly. I wanted to. Meadow looks up at him, her eyes desperate. I tried, but every time I thought about it, I saw his face, I heard his voice, and she breaks off sobbing. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Renly closes his eyes, his chest aches because he understands. God help him, he understands. Dax didn't just hurt him, he hurt everyone around him, used them, twisted them, turned them into weapons against each other. Cairo steps forward, his voice calm but firm. Where is he now? Meadow wipes her face. I don't know, he moves around, different hotels, different apartments, he never stays in one place. But you've been in contact with him. Meadow nods, he calls me from different numbers, tells me what to do. Cairo pulls out his phone and shows her a photo. Is this one of the numbers? Meadow looks at it and nods. Yeah, that's the one he used yesterday. Cairo types something quickly, then pockets his phone. He looks at Renly. We can trace it. Renly nods, but he's not really listening. He's still staring at Meadow, trying to reconcile the woman who held his hand through ultrasounds with the woman who drugged him. Did he pay you? Renly asks quietly. Meadow shakes her head. No, I didn't want his money, I just wanted my daughter safe. Renly believes her, he wishes he didn't, but he does. I need you to testify, Cairo says, against him in court. Meadow's eyes widen. He'll kill me. No, he won't. Cairo's voice is steady, certain, because he'll be in custody, and your daughter will be under protection. Meadow looks at Renly, her eyes pleading. Ren, I know I don't deserve it, but please, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Renly doesn't respond, he just turns and walks out of the room. He makes it halfway down the hall before his legs give out. He leans against the wall, his hand pressed to his chest, trying to breathe. Cairo is beside him a moment later. You okay? Renly shakes his head. No. Cairo doesn't try to argue. He just stands there, close enough that Renly can feel his presence, but not so close that it's overwhelming. She didn't have a choice, Renly says quietly. She did, Cairo says, she just didn't see another way. Renly looks at him. Would you have? Cairo is silent for a moment, then he says, I don't know. It's the most honest answer Renly's heard all night. Cairo's phone buzzes. He glances at it, and his expression shifts, something cold and dangerous settling over his features. We found him, Cairo says. Renly's heart stops. Where? A penthouse in Tribeca, registered under a shell company. Cairo's eyes meet his. We can have him in custody within the hour. Renly's chest tightens. What if he runs? He won't. Cairo's voice is cold, certain. He thinks he's untouchable. Renly swallows hard. What happens now? Now, Cairo says, we end this. Do you think Dax will go quietly, or does he have one more trick up his sleeve? Let us know below. The penthouse is glass and steel and arrogance. Renly watches from the car as Cairo's men move in, fast, silent, precise. They don't knock, don't announce themselves. They just breach the door and flood inside like water through a crack. Renly's heart pounds. He shouldn't be here. Cairo told him to stay at the safe house, but Renly refused. He needs to see this, needs to know it's real. Cairo is beside him in the back seat, his phone pressed to his ear, listening to updates from his team. His expression is unreadable, but there's tension in his jaw, in his shoulders. They've got him, Cairo says quietly. Renly exhales. It's over. Except it's not. Because a moment later, Cairo's expression shifts. He leans forward, his voice sharp. What do you mean he's not resisting? Renly's stomach drops. Cairo listens, his jaw tightening, then he ends the call and looks at Renley. He wants to talk to you. Renley's chest goes cold. What? He says he won't go quietly unless you come inside. Renley's hands curl into fists. No. I'm not asking you to, Cairo says quickly. I'm telling you what he said, but you don't have to. I want to. Cairo stares at him. Renley. I want to see him. Renley's voice is steady now, harder than he's ever heard it. I want him to see me. I want him to know I'm not afraid anymore. Cairo studies him for a long moment, then he nods. I'll be with you the entire time. They walk into the penthouse together. The space is obscene. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, marble floors, furniture that costs more than Renley's made in his entire life. Dax is sitting on the couch, handcuffed, flanked by two of Cairo's men. He's smiling. Renley's stomach twists. There he is, Dax says, his voice warm, affectionate, like they're old friends. My beautiful Omega. Renley doesn't respond. He just stands there, his hand over his belly, staring at the man who tried to break him. Dax's eyes flick to Cairo, then back to Renley. You really think he's going to protect you? He's just using you, Ren, just like I did. Cairo's expression doesn't change. He just steps closer to Renley, a silent wall between him and Dax. You don't get to talk to him, Cairo says quietly. Dax laughs. I don't need your permission. Yes, Cairo says, his voice dropping lower, you do. Dax's smile falters, just for a second, then it's back sharper now. He looks at Renley. You know what's funny? I actually loved you, in my own way. Renley's chest tightens. No, you didn't. I did. Dax's voice is soft now, almost gentle. I just didn't know how to show it. You drugged me, Renley says, his voice shaking. You tracked me. You stole my medication. You tried to auction me. Dax shrugs. I was protecting you from yourself. You've always been too weak to survive on your own. Renley's hands shake, but his voice doesn't. I survived you. Dax's expression darkens. You think you've won. You think this is over. He leans forward, his eyes cold now. I own half the city, Ren, judges, lawyers, cops. You really think they're going to convict me? Cairo steps forward, his voice calm but lethal. They will, because I've already given them everything they need. Dax's smile fades. Cairo pulls out a folder and drops it on the table in front of Dax. Medical records, testimony from 5 Omegas, recorded conversations, financial transactions, and a signed confession from your clinic contact. Dax's face goes pale. You're done, Cairo says simply. Dax lunges forward, snarling, but the men holding him yank him back. He struggles, his face twisted with rage. You think you're a hero, you're just a thug in a suit. Cairo doesn't react, he just looks at Renley. Are you ready to go? Renley nods. They turn to leave, but Dax's voice stops them. The baby's not even yours, Dax shouts, his voice breaking. It's mine, you can't take what's mine. Renley turns back, his voice cold. The baby was never yours, and neither was I. He walks out, Cairo beside him, and doesn't look back. Outside, Renley's legs finally give out. Cairo catches him, lowering him gently onto the steps. You did it, Cairo says quietly. It's over. Renley nods, but he can't speak. His chest is shaking too hard. Cairo's phone buzzes. He glances at it and his expression shifts, something Renley can't read. What? Renley asks. Cairo hesitates, then he says, the district attorney just filed charges. Dax is being arraigned tomorrow. Renley exhales. It's real, it's finally real. But then Cairo's phone buzzes again, and again. Cairo's expression darkens. What is it? Renley asks, his heart sinking. Cairo looks at him and there's something in his eyes now, something that looks like anger and fear. Dax's lawyer just filed an emergency custody petition, Cairo says quietly, for your baby. Can Dax really take Renley's baby from jail? Drop your thoughts below. The courtroom is cold. Renley sits beside Cairo, his hands folded on the table in front of him, trying to keep them from shaking. The room is too bright, too loud. Every sound, the shuffle of papers, the murmur of voices, the judge's gavel, feels like it's drilling into his skull. Dax sits across the aisle, flanked by his lawyer, a woman in a sharp suit with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Dax looks calm, too calm, like he already knows how this is going to end. Renley's stomach churns. The judge enters, a woman in her 60s with grey hair pulled back in a bun and eyes that look like they've seen everything. She sits, adjusts her glasses, and looks at the papers in front of her. "This is an emergency hearing regarding custody of an unborn child," she says, her voice crisp. "Mr. Calder, you're petitioning for full custody upon birth." Dax's lawyer stands. "Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Calder is the biological father and has a legal right to his child." The judge looks at Renley, "And you're contesting this?" Cairo stands before Renley can. "Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Marrow is contesting on the grounds of abuse, coercion, and medical endangerment." Dax's lawyer smiles. "With all due respect, Your Honor, those are serious allegations, but we have documentation showing that Mr. Marrow consented to this pregnancy and to Mr. Calder's involvement." She pulls out a folder and hands it to the judge. Renley's chest tightens. He knows what's inside, the consent form, the one he doesn't remember signing. The judge reads it, her expression unreadable, then she looks at Renley. "Did you sign this?" Renley's throat is dry. I don't know." The judge frowns. "You don't know if you signed a legal document." "I was sedated," Renley says, his voice shaking. "At the clinic, they told me it was for the baby. I don't remember signing anything." Dax's lawyer jumps on it. "Your Honor, Mr. Marrow was sedated for a medical procedure. He was fully informed and consented beforehand. His memory issues don't negate the legality of the document." The judge looks at Cairo. "Do you have evidence to the contrary?" Cairo nods. "We do, Your Honor. A forensic handwriting expert analyzed the signature. It's a forgery." He hands a folder to the judge. Dax's lawyer's smile falters. The judge reads the report, her eyes narrowing. Then she looks at Dax. "Mr. Calder, did you forge this signature?" Dax leans forward, his expression calm. "No, Your Honor, I have no idea who." "We also have testimony from the clinic staff," Cairo interrupts. "One of the nurses confessed to forging the document under Mr. Calder's instruction." The judge's expression hardens. She looks at Dax, then at his lawyer. "Is there anything else you'd like to present?" Dax's lawyer hesitates, then sits down. The judge turns to Renley. "Mr. Marrow, I've reviewed the evidence, the forged signature, the medical coercion, the testimony from multiple sources. I'm issuing a restraining order against Mr. Calder. He is not to contact you or come within 500 feet of you or your child." Renley's chest shakes. Relief floods through him so fast it's dizzying. But Dax isn't done. He stands, his voice sharp. "That baby is mine, you can't." The judge slams her gavel. "Mr. Calder, sit down." Dax doesn't sit. He lunges toward Renley, his face twisted with rage. Cairo moves faster. He steps between them, his hands slamming into Dax's chest, shoving him back. Dax stumbles, and the bailiffs are on him in seconds, restraining him. "You think you've won," Dax shouts, his voice breaking. "You think this is over. I'll destroy you, both of you." The judge's voice is ice. "Mr. Calder, you are in contempt of court. Bailiffs, remove him." They drag Dax out, still shouting, still struggling. The courtroom goes silent. The judge looks at Renley, her expression softening just slightly. "Mr. Marrow, you're free to go. I'm granting you full custody and issuing a permanent restraining order." Renley nods, but he can't speak. His throat is too tight. Cairo's hand is on his shoulder, steady. "Let's go." They walk out together, and for the first time in 8 months, Renley feels like he can breathe. But when they step outside, Cairo's phone buzzes. He glances at it, and his expression shifts. "What?" Renley asks, his heart sinking. Cairo looks at him. Dax is being charged with 5 counts of assault, 3 counts of coercion, 2 counts of medical malpractice, and 1 count of attempted human trafficking. Renley's breath catches. "Trafficking." Cairo nods. "The auction. He was planning to sell you." Renley's legs go weak. Cairo steadies him. "He's going to prison," Cairo says quietly, "for a long time." Renley closes his eyes. It's over. It's finally over. But then Cairo's voice drops lower. "There's something else." Renley looks at him. "What?" Cairo hesitates, then he says, "Your water just broke." Renley looks down. His pants are soaked. "The baby is coming." Will Renley and the baby be okay? Drop your prayers and thoughts below. The hospital room is quiet now. The chaos of the last 12 hours, the contractions, the monitors beeping, the nurses moving in and out, has faded into a soft, exhausted calm. Renley lies in the bed, propped up by pillows, his body aching but lighter, so much lighter. The baby is wrapped in a soft blue blanket, cradled against his chest. Tiny fingers curl against Renley's skin. Tiny breaths rise and fall in perfect rhythm. A boy. Healthy, strong, safe. Renley's eyes burn, but he's too tired to cry. He just stares at his son, at this impossibly small, perfect person, and tries to memorize every detail. The curve of his nose, the softness of his hair, the way his eyes flutter behind closed lids, already dreaming. Cairo stands near the window, his back to the room, his phone pressed to his ear. He's been making calls all night, arranging security, coordinating with lawyers, making sure Dax stays exactly where he is. He hasn't slept, hasn't eaten, but every time Renley looks at him, Cairo's eyes are clear, focused. Cairo ends the call and turns. His gaze lands on the baby, and for the first time, something in his expression softens. "He's beautiful," Cairo says quietly. Renley nods, his voice is hoarse. "Thank you." Cairo crosses the room and sits in the chair beside the bed. He doesn't reach for the baby, doesn't assume. He just sits there, close enough to be present but not so close that he's crowding. "You don't have to thank me," Cairo says. "Yes, I do." Renley looks at him, his eyes red. "You saved us, both of us." Cairo is quiet for a moment. Then he says, "You saved yourself. I just made sure you didn't have to do it alone." Renley's chest shakes. He looks back down at his son, at the tiny life he thought he'd lose so many times. "I didn't think I'd make it." "But you did." Renley nods. He did, against every odd, against every fear. He survived. The baby stirs, his tiny mouth opening in a yawn. Renley smiles, his first real smile in months. Cairo's phone buzzes. He glances at it, then looks at Renley. Dax's arraignment is in an hour. The DA expects a guilty plea. Renley's smile fades. Will he take it? He doesn't have a choice. The evidence is too strong. Renley exhales. It's over. Dax is going to prison. The baby is safe. Renley is free. But freedom is a strange thing. It doesn't feel like relief. It feels like standing on the edge of a cliff, staring at the open sky, and not knowing how to fly. "What happens now?" Renley asks quietly. Cairo looks at him. "Now you heal, you raise your son, you build a life that's yours." Renley's throat tightens. "I don't know how to do that." "You'll learn." Renley wants to believe him. He's not sure he does yet, but maybe that's okay. Maybe belief is something that grows over time, like trust, like safety. The baby opens his eyes, wide, dark, unfocused, and stares up at Renley. Renley's breath catches. It's the first time he's seen them. The first time his son has looked at him. "Hi," Renley whispers, his voice breaking. "I'm your dad." The baby blinks, then his tiny hand reaches up, fingers spreading, searching. Renley offers his finger and the baby's hand closes around it. The grip is small, weak, but it's there. "And it's everything." Cairo watches them and something in his expression shifts. Something Renley can't name. It's not love, not yet, but it's close. It's care, it's commitment. It's the promise of something that could be. "I'm not going anywhere," Cairo says quietly. Renley looks at him. "Why?" Cairo is silent for a long moment. Then he says, "Because you texted me in fear, but you changed your future with one brave message." Renley's chest shakes. He looks back down at his son, at the life he almost lost, at the future he didn't think he'd have. And for the first time, he lets himself feel it. Hope. 6 months later, Renley stands in a small apartment, his apartment, holding his son on his hip. The baby is bigger now, giggling, grabbing at Renley's hair. The space is simple, warm, safe. Cairo is there too, leaning against the counter, watching them with that same quiet intensity. Renley's learned a lot in 6 months. He's learned that healing isn't linear, that some days are harder than others, that asking for help doesn't make him weak, it makes him human. He's learned that love doesn't have to hurt, that protection doesn't have to control, that safety can be quiet and steady instead of loud and demanding. And he's learned that he's stronger than he ever thought possible. "You ready?" Cairo asks. Renley nods. They're going to the park. It's a small thing, a normal thing, but it feels monumental. Because Renley isn't hiding anymore. He isn't running. He's living. And his son, his beautiful, perfect son, will grow up knowing that his father fought for him, that his father survived, that his father chose hope over fear. As they walk out the door, Renley glances back at the apartment one last time. Then he steps into the sunlight. And he doesn't look back. This story shows us that abuse hides behind charm, that asking for help is bravery, and that real love respects, not controls. If this story touched you, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another story that inspires. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Share this story. You never know who needs to hear that they're not alone.